Welcome to the GonZealous Group, purveyor of food at the proper time, food for thought, and the SSS, the Spiritual Snitching Society. We're a new type of society. We do everything in the open.
That is so Satan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GonZealous Group, a proud division of the Kingdom Hall of Happy Apostates. And today, like you all know, it's Circuit Overseer Week. It's a special week, and unfortunately, our Circuit Overseer, JT, was unavailable to come this week, but it's even better because our substitute Circuit Overseer is coming in, and it's Susan Gaskin. So without further ado, let me hand everything over to Susan Gaskin while I go out and work the assigned parking lot attendant. Yeah, I'm working parking lot today, so enjoy.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're not too disappointed that your regular Circuit Overseer JT couldn't be here this week. But I'm here for your special week of activity as the substitute Circuit Overseer, as Gigi, or Gilbert, just mentioned.
What?
Oh my goodness! Sorry for all the expletives. It's a good thing that your congregation had installed the anti-profanity software as directed by the society, so you didn't have to hear all that vulgarity. As you could see, Tony Morse is not a big fan of having a female substitute Circuit Overseer. I guess he probably would have preferred a brother in tight pants to be here instead. But we'll learn more about that later. Anyways, I've got my Circuit Overseer glasses here to wear. How's it look? Actually, you know what? I'm only the substitute Circuit Overseer, so I don't even need to wear my glasses. But what I do have that might come in handy are my shun glasses. This is just in case I see someone that needs to be shunned. Like over there. I can't see you. Anyways, we have a really great show. I'm very anxious to introduce to you our panel of distinguished guests. We have two governing body members at our disposal. We have Tony Morse, who I'm told is backstage and has promised to be nice. He's having a timeout right now. We don't want him to drop any more F-bombs on our show. We also have governing body member David Splain. Please also welcome the lovely and very talented Lady C from XJW Critical Thinker. I highly recommend the videos she and her hubby JT make on their channel. Next, we have the hilarious Neil the Great Apostate. If you're ever in need of some laughs mixed in with common sense, you need to check out his YouTube channel. I'll put the links for everyone in the description. And finally, here's the man who needs no introduction, but I'll introduce him anyways. Our voice of reason from JW Crisis, the amazing Gilbert Gonzalez. I was also fortunate that Eric, son of Thunder, happened to be in town visiting for this special week of activity from sunny South Florida. Please give it up for Eric, who will be our microphone handler today. So, if everyone is ready, let's begin with question number 1. The organization has changed a lot since I left in the year 2000, and many of the older ones are not really sure what's going on. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, Tony Morse wants to say something. Let's hope it's not more profanity.
What's wrong is this extremely tight pants. It's not appropriate for a Christian. And I want you brothers to think about this. Do you remember that many homosexuals are in the clothing industry and doing the designing? Don't you know they love it when you're wearing tight pants? Oh yeah, you chuckle. I don't think it's funny. I think it's disgusting.
Talk about a unique perspective.
Yes, that was unique. Actually, you know what? That was perfect. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. One of the changes that the organization has made. Crazy rants. So what do you think will be the next change the organization will make, either with doctrines or with how they do business? Let's start with our great apostate.
Hi Susan, thanks very much for having me on in the place of Gilbert. Hi Gilbert, I think you're taking part in this, aren't you? So good for you. what changes do I think will come in the future? Well, I left like you in 2000-ish, and I'm amazed at the amount of changes that they are going through. I mean, it's almost not the same organization anymore. And my parents are out. My former presiding overseer, he left about the same time as me, and we are all pretty gobsmacked at what we see, at how dramatically they've changed, how quickly, and how unrecognizable they are in the past, from the past days. That said, they're still the same bullshit. Do I see that progressing? This is what I think is going to happen, and I'm going to be the first, I think, to say it. Hopefully I'm totally wrong, but who knows. I think in 50 years, what the biggest change that Jehovah's Witnesses you'll see is the move to online services. And I don't just mean services as in the things they provide, I mean the actual meetings. I think that in the future, there'll be vast areas in America, Canada, Britain, Europe, that have, because Britain's not part of Europe. Oh, no way. No, because I think that in the future, the congregations are going to shrink even further. They're going to want to isolate themselves and insulate themselves from lawsuits. And how much better to just say, well, we don't have a congregation in that area, but there's a guy who watches our website there. It wasn't our fault for what he did. So I think that's going to be the case. And I think that the Jehovah's Witnesses will claim, much like the Scientologists, that, oh, we've got these huge numbers, but never really back it up with facts. Like the Scientologists say, we've got like 7 or 9 million Scientologists, but that includes anyone who's ever been given a piece of literature by them. Whereas in reality, it's like 40 or 50,000. So I think it'll be something like that. And in the future, it'll be harder and harder for you to even tell who's a Jehovah's Witness and who is just some guy who goes on the website. So that's what I think will happen. And, well, the less Jehovah's Witnesses, the better, let's be honest. Thanks very much for asking.
Excellent thought. I can agree with that. More and more stuff online, including congregations. So they'll be even more robotic. Lady C, what do you think?
Hi, everybody. Hey, Susan. Thank you so much for having me on the GonZealous Group. I'm very happy to be here and part of the show. You know, that's a very good question, and I've been thinking about this quite a bit lately, and I feel that with the JW Broadcasting Network, there will be no more elders giving public talks because all of the information will be spoon-fed through that channel, and no renegade brothers will ever be able to give talks based on their own interpretation of what they feel they should be saying from the platform.
So it sounds similar to what the great apostate said. They trust their computers more than they trust their members. Maybe in the future they'll be baptizing robots. What do you have to say, Gigi?
Yeah, it has, Susan. I talked to a lot of people and they're saying the same thing. That is why for the last 5-7 years, when I was in the Jehovah's Witness congregation, I wouldn't go out in service. I would dedicate all my time into prison work. You know, I put in more hours in prison work in 1 month than regular pioneers and special pioneers did in all their service. And I would always report 5 hours because the last thing I wanted is for them to give me privileges. I found peace in just being with prisoners and working with them. Now, as for doctrine, past performances are indicative of future results. Remember that. The past is indicative of the future. And so what has history taught us? The Jehovah's Witnesses have always fought Jesus Christ since Judge Rutherford's inceptions. So every change and every doctrine will be a departure from Jesus. You see, because Jesus is freedom. So lip service will be given to Jesus. Because if you teach Jesus Christ, then people will yearn to be free. And you cannot have that at the Kingdom Hall. You can't have a yearning for freedom. And perhaps they might start eliminating the memorial. They might start eliminating the emblems. Who knows? Also, all the literature has already been watered down. I haven't read a Watchtower and Awake magazine in over a decade because it is written in such a condescending tone and it has no meat to the bones. So all of the writers, the old writers, they're dead or they have been laid off and sent home. And so you can't expect any new light to be light, to have any substance. It truly will be light in substance, kind of like Bud Light. But as for business, the change is already in place. I mean, all the Kingdom Halls belong to the to Watchtower, to corporate offices, and on top of that, now every maintenance committee has to give a monthly stipend to corporate offices, and that is one of my platforms in my governing body run for office in October 2016. is how Jehovah's Witnesses have burned every bridge in Christianity. You see, I would quadruple the size and the work in the printing presses. You see, Watchtower is sitting on a gold mine of kinetic energy. They have great software, they have great printing presses, great infrastructure, and they could be using that to make money by helping other Christians, preach the gospel, and in turn they could use that money to make sure that the people at headquarters have a monthly stipend and also a retirement account. So when they exit Watchtower, when they exit headquarters, they're taken care of financially. So it is just a crying shame, and I wish the shareholders and the corporate officers are listening to this show, so that way they could see that they really need to get rid of the governing body as it exists today.
Wow, you brought out some really good points there. And you're right, they are drifting further and further away from what Jesus had taught. Jesus had taught us to love our enemies and to be forgiving of others. I see a lot of professed love from the organization, but not a lot to back it up. And towards non-members, I don't see much love at all. And towards ex-members, I see even hatred. Not at all what Jesus had taught. Oh. I'm being told that we have an uninvited guest who wants to sing us something. Why don't we listen in?
I'm just a cart made up of bits and pieces, a frame, a handle, and some wheels. I'm so glad to be a public witness cart.
Well, thank you, Public Witnessing Cart, for your Disney-like song. Maybe we could weave him into the show, because we are seeing a lot of these public witnessing carts around. And their goal seems to be to just stand around and wait for others to approach them. So for question number 2, do you feel that this is an effective way to preach? Or how would you do it if you had to do it? Let's start with Lady C this time.
To me, when I see people with the cart witnessing, I just think that they're just street vendors. And I never see people talking to them. So it's not an effective way to witness. But if I were a Jehovah's Witness today, I would prefer not to say anything either. The less I would have to say on behalf of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the better. So for the Jehovah's Witnesses, I think that's a great thing for them, that they don't have to speak.
Great answer. The less said, the better. Oh, great apostate, what say you?
Well, the witnesses are doing a lot more of this cart witnessing. That's true. It's not witnessing. It's not preaching, right? Let's make that clear. It's not preaching. It's hardly turning over the moneylenders' tables. Okay, it's hardly getting into a deep, meaningful conversation with someone about their life and encouraging them to change it. It's standing there miserable, holding your little watchtower out and hoping to God no one talks to you. And if you're a kid watching this, it's doing all that and hoping somebody in your class doesn't see you. So I don't think it's preaching one iota. I made a video yonks ago. That's a Northern Ireland word. Yonks means a long time. Where I described it as the human equivalent to a wavy, wacky, inflatable arm man. I made a good wavy man there, didn't I? So it's very close to that. It's really the least human quality that you need to make some kind of preaching effort. In fact, if I was a really cynical, conspiracy-minded person, I would say that it's the Jehovah's Witnesses dumbing down so that they can replace people easier as cogs in the bottom levels of the organization. Because hey, what's it take to just stand there and hold out magazines? You don't need a reasoning book for that now, do you? And if you have an argument, what do you say? I'm not here to argue with you, sir. Go to jw.org and then you'll learn all our teachings. So it's dumbass stuff. I think it's intended to be dumbass stuff. So yeah, it's not preaching. How would I preach to people? I preach to people. I suppose I do preach to people now. Video, internet, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're doing this crappy half-assed thing in the public, but they've got a real slick operation now going online, and I see that being a big thing for them in the future. I also see the whole operation going online in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if you find that in the future there will be whole areas without congregations. In 50 years, there will be swathes of America and Europe, not a congregation in sight, but there will be people who claim to be Jehovah's Witnesses, who are soloers, who do a little bit of preaching, and who learn all they can from the website, and then they meet up for assemblies, and that'll be their sole Jehovah's Witnessness. And I think the Kingdom Halls will start to die out, because I think they're switching it to internet because it's way cheaper. So I see that's what's going to happen. If I had to preach to people, which I kind of do now, I'm just a jackass. I like the internet, and I like making silly videos, and apparently it helps some people. So go figure. Thank you.
Yes. It's funny that he referenced the Jesus turning over the money changer tables, because every time I see one of these carts, I have to resist the urge to go and flip over their carts. But I know this wouldn't be a wise thing to do. Well, first of all, it's violent, and I'm not a violent person. But it would only help to fuel any persecution complex that they may have. Gigi, what have you got to say?
This is very effective in two fronts. The last thing you ever want to have a Jehovah's Witness do is defend his or her doctrine. The last thing. If you can keep a Jehovah's Witness from engaging in debate, you can keep him or her captive to an organization. Jehovah's Witnesses are trained not to engage in debate, in politics, and anything of substance. That is why the Gilbert GonZealous Group is groundbreaking for Jehovah's Witnesses, because Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think." You see, nobody here is trying to be an authority on any subject. We are engaging in thought and opinion. Some people call it critical thinking. The second front, and that's why it's so effective, is that you are attracting like-minded individuals with cart witnessing, people who do not want to think and want everything handed to them in a silver platter. Unfortunately, the main target is single mothers with children who want to provide a safe surrounding for their children. No drugs, no gangs, Christian living. Little do they realize that Watchtower's policies is a breeding ground for pedophiles. Even though Watchtower may hate pedophiles in their lips, their policies speak louder than their words. That is why I would eliminate all door-to-door and street canvassing preaching work. So that is why I'm running for governing body. If you elect me as governing body member, I would make the Kingdom Halls a place where people can learn to have Christian, notice, debates, and learn in the process. And I just want to say one last thing. There's two examples of this, of the change that can be done. Think of Alcoholics Anonymous and think of Starbucks. What do they have in common? Well, they're both very successful at what they do, and they both do not advertise. You see, Jehovah's Witnesses need to go back into the Kingdom Hall and learn how to shine their light, the light of truth. If you teach people how to shine their light and you become good at it, you don't need to go door to door. You don't need to stand on a corner. Your light will shine and people will come to you. And that is the problem that the governing body has. And that is why there's only 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses in over 100 years of going door-to-door preaching.
Thank you. Yes, and you're right. When you discourage any kind of debate, then you attract the same kind of people who don't think and who just wish to be spoon-fed. Let's move on now to question number 3. The organization has a history of false dates for Armageddon, like 1914, 1925, and 1975. Do you think they would ever do this again? Why or why not? And if so, what will be their next date for Armageddon? Let's start with you, Gigi.
As for false dates, remember the phrase, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." The Catholics and the Protestants have learned not to be so stupid and engage in this type of doctrine. In the Time magazine article I read about Raymond France, the writer brought out that point. Watchtower has set themselves a deadline timetable by end times theology. However, Watchtower is run by stupid individuals. Have you seen any of Brother Let's videos? I mean, come on. So unless they get new leadership at the governing body, who knows what they are capable of and what dates they'll come up with. Now, remember this. God allowed Pharaoh to double down on his stupidity. Do you remember when Moses wrote, but in fact, for this cause, I have kept you in existence, for the sake of showing you my power, and in order to have my name declared in all the earth. Are you still behaving haughtily against my people and not sending them away? So, if our Father in heaven allowed this, would not Jesus Christ, his Son, do the same thing? By allowing stupid doctrines like the overlapping generation, the few that fed the many, the types and the antitypes, maybe, just perhaps maybe, Jesus is giving all of us, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, a sign of how the governing body is double downing on stupidity, just like Pharaoh.
Well, the organization does.
Oh, sorry. I just want to say that I loved your quote, that the organization is doubling down on stupidity. Yes. I personally prefer doubling down with cream. For my coffee, that is. Anyway, sorry, carry on, Great Apostate.
Hi there. Well, the organization does have a history of making false dates. We all know it because we all fell for it. I remember the constant "when's it going to be" conversations at every Kingdom Hall gathering. Ooh, maybe this terrible thing that's happened in the world will get us excited enough and Jehovah's going to intervene. Do I think they're going to do it again? Well, hope springs eternal, because that will really wreck them again. But the answer, I think, is no. I do not think they're ever going to do it again, and I'll tell you why. Because I think the Jehovah's Witnesses are getting outside help, right? Sure, they've got lots of talented and qualified people who are helping them do their website and stuff, but I think, I've no proof for this whatsoever, but I'm sure it'll come out with a leak one day. I think that they've got marketing consultants, because if you look at what they're doing, how they switched to the whole non-threatening preaching method with the carts, how they've stopped arguing with people, how they've gone off a little bit, quite heavily in fact, they've gone off the whole, oh, you whore of Babylon, for going to another church. How they're doing the Caleb and Sophia gross cartoons, and their website's so slick. I think they've got marketing consultants. I do. And I think that what they say is now being filtered. Their spiritual teachings are being filtered through marketeers who go, how's this going to play in Peoria? Or wherever it is, whatever it is they say. Run this up the flagpole and see how it flaps. I think that's what they're doing. So I think that anytime they come up with some kind of bullshit nonsense from now on, that's going to be reviewed by a panel of experts who say, yeah, do that, but you're going to lose X amount of $1 million because you say it. And they're all going to have a good old think and a cough and then say, oh, maybe the Bible doesn't say that after all. So no, I don't think there's going to be any more of that nonsense. Though I wish it would, because it's friggin' hilarious.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think you're right that they are getting outside help. I mean, most of them don't have any higher education, and they have the money to get this outside marketing help. So why wouldn't they? Lady C, you're up.
I think they're past that now. I think they realize that this is something that they have to rein in. No more dates, but they will use current events, bad things that happen, the different changes in their teachings. They'll use that as a way to say that the end is so near, because Jehovah is changing things. And you know, witnesses, they love change. And so instead of giving a date, I believe that they're going to just use current events, you know, bad things that happen, when they make major changes to teachings. That will be their way of saying the end is around the corner, because when you see these changes taking place, certainly there must be something getting ready to take place soon.
Great answer, Lady C. I totally agree. I think they have learned their lesson from the 1975 debacle, but they're going to continue to use scare tactics to keep their membership. What was a recent thing they did with the memorial? They called it could be the last memorial, just to scare people. Anyways, we've reached the rapid fire segment part of the show. This is where the questions are fast and the answers are even faster. So we're going to go in the following order. We're going to start with Neil, the great apostate. Then we'll go to Lady C, and then we're going to go to Gigi. And if either of you two governing body members wish to chime in, Tony, you can blow the horn that we gave you. And David, you can honk the horn that you have in front of you. Okay, so the first one is tight pants or baggy pants. Go.
Tight pants or baggy pants? Baggy pants. No one needs to see my junk.
Oh, tight pants, of course.
Both. Women should wear tight pants. Men should wear baggy pants.
Extremely tight pants. You don't look as good as you would think you would look, except to a homosexual. And you know what the sisters tell me? They don't like men wearing tight pants. And I see these sisters' heads going, that's right. You look disgusting.
Well, it looks like tight pants won that round. Sorry, Tony. Next question. Is 8 years old too young to get baptized as a JW?
Can an 8-year-old get baptized? I don't know, can an 8-year-old clean their room? Until that 8-year-old can clean his room, he can't get baptized, okay? Because Jehovah's a damn sight more of a commitment than tidying up your room and getting your underwear in the correct box. No, don't. Don't let them get baptized. Bad parent. Bad parent.
I would say no. No getting baptized at 8. Much too young.
Age of 12 years is a perfect age for baptism for a Jehovah's Witness. I was fished out of water at 8 years of age, in the 3rd grade. The Catholics are the best, though. They baptize at birth.
We want our young ones to make progress in the truth. We study with them since they are very young. And once we have studied with them for 5, 6, 7 years, you would expect some progress from our young ones. If you studied with a Bible student for 5, 6, 7 years, you'd expect the student to make progress, wouldn't you? In some countries, we find that young ones, 10, 11, 12 years old, are not even unbaptized publishers yet.
Well, we had a draw on that one. So I'm going to say that 8 years old is way too young to get baptized as a JW. I like what the great apostate said. They should be cleaning their rooms instead. So the next question is, do you think that the memorial partakers went up or down this past year?
Up or down? I think it's going to go up, sheerly by the sheer number of apostates who keep posting videos of themselves taking the emblems. And eventually it's going to become a single once-a-year apostate party at the Kingdom Hall, like a family reunion for us all. I'm doing it next year. Meet me there.
Memorial partakers constantly going up. Definitely.
The truth is that more Jehovah's Witnesses are partaking than ever before, but the tally count at headquarters will start to show a decline. The number Watchtower gives us is a lie, just like the delegate counts that you're seeing in this year's presidential elections. If I become a governing body member, I will encourage all Jehovah's Witnesses to partake, like Jesus said, and there will be no need to count.
Agreed. It will continue to go up. The organization will either stop reporting it or they will massage the numbers a little bit. So the next question is, disfellowshipped, disassociated, or an active JW who is a mole within the congregation? Which one would you prefer to be?
Disfellowshipped, disassociated, or some kind of secret mole on the inside. Oh God, I'd rather French kiss an angry hobo than go back to the meetings. So we can say that's right out of the window. Disfellowshipped, I don't care. I was too shy to do anything bad or at least get caught for it when I was a Jehovah's Witness. So I'm going to stick with being disassociated. It works for me, and I hope whatever you're doing works for you. Thanks.
I would prefer to be an active Jehovah's Witness acting as a mole. I would have so much fun.
Okay, this one's really easy. If I could go back in time, I would reinvent ass kissing. Oh my God, I would reinvent ass kissing. And I would have the elders thinking that I would come close to making a shower video like the Unwitnessed, but I would be fishing so many Jehovah's Witnesses out of water. They wouldn't even know what I would be doing behind the scenes. And I would get also the elders drunk and record it. Yeah, I wish I could go back in time and do these things.
Those are some interesting comments you all gave. I never really thought about it, but if I could have gone back in time, I think I would have chosen to be a mole within the congregation, a secret agent working from the inside. Sounds so exciting, doesn't it? But now, I'm just happy to be out. So our last question is, who will be the next governing body member involved in a scandal?
It's gotta be Tony Tight Pants Morris. That man is fascinated with males and homosexuality. And have you ever seen a more effeminate looking pensioner in your life? Methinks the lady does protest too much.
I think that Anthony Morris will be involved in a scandal because there's some skeletons lurking in his closet. He wouldn't be talking about tight pants in those talks all the time if there wasn't something getting ready to happen. He secretly loves those tight pants. So that scandal coming to a JW broadcast near you.
What? Hello, Susan. That would be me. GG for GB. I will be involved in the next governing body scandal.
Gigi, if you could claw your way in as a governing body member, I have absolutely no doubt that you'd be able to pull off the best scandal. But in the interim, I'm going to have to vote with Tony Morris. His alleged disdain for men in tight pants came up surprisingly a lot today. So methinks he needs to come out of his tight pants closet tout sweet. Wow. Hang on. Security. So that ends my segment for today's show. Thank you all so much for your participation. I just loved all your answers, and I had a really great time with all of you in this special week of activity as a substitute circuit overseer. We just have to have one final meeting after the show where we're going to discuss your publisher timesheets. And one of you, you know who you are, needs to still hand in your time for the month. So thank you all very much again. It's been a pleasure.
Please bear with us as we close with this special announcement. Samuel Hurd is no longer a member of the body of Christ. His crimes against the flock have reached the heavens. May God have mercy on his soul. May those with ears listen. See you next week on the GonZealous Group. And don't forget to vote.
GonZealous Group, purveyors of food at the proper time. Food for thought. If you feel you qualify to be on the show, or qualify to pass out microphones, send us your resume. Gilbert@jwcrisis.org.
That is so Satan-y.